Hello, dear friends. Today I'm going to talk about the challenges that Hindus are going to face in this country and abroad so that a true renaissance of India happens and that India enters into the next decade as a superpower. Now, first, we need to define what is a Hindu. For me, of course, I'm a lover of the Hindus. I'm a defender of the Hindus. I'm one of those rare journalists, who has dared defend the Hindus in the face of so much opposition because the Hindus are subject to a lot of discrimination, a lot of slander, a lot of personal attacks, also even deaths. There are so many Hindus which are being killed nowadays, whether they belong to the RSS or the BGP. So we need to define what is a Hindu. For me, a Hindu is a universal person. For what stands behind Hinduism, what props up Hinduism, is an universal spirituality that believes that every man and every woman on this earth belongs to one family. This, we are one family. It's a very well known facet of Hinduism. Hindus have believed throughout the ages that God is one, but he or she manifests in different ways at different times and with different names, with different scriptures, and that it's the same God. Now, in Christianity and Islam, there is only one God, their God, and all the other gods are false. Either their people have to be converted, or even they need to be killed so that they are eliminated, and only their true God remains. Hindus never believed that. This is why Hinduism was and still is the most tolerant spirituality in the world, and that every religious community which was persecuted in the world found refuge in India, from the Christian Syrians, long ago, to the Parsis who fled Iran because they were adorers of Zarathustra and they were persecuted by the Muslims, to the Jews. Did you know that India is the only country in the world where Jews were never persecuted? It's the only country in the world where Jews were never persecuted. To the Tibetans today, Tibet is more or less dead in China because the Chinese have ruthlessly, you know, made the Tibet a province of China. But Tibet, the Tibetan Buddhism is very much alive in India, thanks to this tolerance of the Hindus, thanks to the spirituality of the Hindus that have accepted throughout the ages the fact that you have to respect every religion, every god, every people. This is unique in the world today. Nobody else has this outlook. Thus, this is why I have stood up for a Hindu. This is why I believe that anybody can be a Hindu. Being a Hindu is what? To accept that there is karma, that there is dharma, that in your life you need to, live it truthfully, that there is rebirth, that inside you there is the divine spark inside you, that you're born again and again. These are truths, which the world knew long ago, but which have been lost. Today, only the Hindus hold this truth. Only the Hindus have this knowledge, which can save the world. Which can save the world. Today, we see in the world, so much intolerance. Innocent people are being killed, by the thousands in the name of a prophet, who cannot be, he cannot be that evil. It is not possible. So only Hindus today hold that knowledge, and yet it's been a one-way traffic. Hindus have accepted, tolerated, but in return they've been invaded, they've been raped, they've been killed, they've been converted, and today it's still happening. There is an onslaught against Hindus which is tremendous. Whether it is the conversion by the Christian missionaries, most of them being Indians today, unfortunately, from Tamil Nadu and Kerala, mostly. Whether it is the Islamization of India, once this land, there was some kind of tolerant Islam. When I first went to Kashmir in the early 90s, there still was some form of Sufism there, that Hindus and Muslims would meet for their festivals. Women didn't go, covered from head to toe. There was cinema. So Sufism has been eradicated from India. Today we see the hard Sunni, belief that Aurangzeb incarnated so brilliantly. We see that it's taking over everything, whether it is in Europe, whether it is in India. So the Islamization of India, the mosques sponsored by Saudi Arabia, which are coming more and more, the politicians, who cater to the Muslim community so as to get their votes. I don't think that Congress politicians really believe that Islam is the truth, is salvation for humanity. They just need their votes. And we see Mamta Banerjee, we see in Karnataka, they're going to celebrate the birth anniversary of Tipu Sultan, who was a monster, who killed hundreds, thousands of Hindus, who razed their temples. So there's that onslaught, Christian missionaries, Islamization, then Marxism. Marxism, there was a truth in Marxism once upon a time, when there was so much inequality in places like China or Soviet Union, that Lenin had an idealism that there should be more equality, more freedom, that wealth has to be spread, more equally. But today, we've seen that Marxism and communism became monsters. And they died everywhere, except in India. Even in China, I don't think they believe anymore in communism. But in India, you have very sincere communists, whether they're in Kerala, whether they're in West Bengal or elsewhere. And they hate Hinduism. They hate Hindus. For them, religion is an opium, it's a drug. So Hindus are also attacked by Marxists. And unfortunately, journalists and your intelligence is very Marxist inspired today still. After so many decades, I see no change. I see in newspapers like Hindustan Times, Indian Express, your intellectual, your Nobel Prizes like Amartya Sen, mouthing these ideologies which are dead in the world and which are profoundly, anti-Hindu. So that's another attack. Then you have the Congress. You have Sonia Gandhi, whatever her qualities, because I don't think Sonia Gandhi is evil. She just, incarnates some forces which are inimical to Hindus. So many forces. And then you have the westernization of India at the hand mostly of television channels that show that if you buy a 60 rupees cream, you might become fairer. You will become fairer. That if you wear a suit and a tie, you're a man. That everything is about Bollywood and dancing and wealth, and this is a tragedy because young people in the villages are attracted by this shining, mirage, and they become more westernized. And of course, the education you give to your children is tragic. It's a legacy from the British. You don't teach them any Indian Hindu values. Don't teach them about